Hello, everybody. How you doing out there tonight? It's your man, your host, Mr. Talk Wit, Talk Life on YouTube. Tonight, I want to talk about a topic that a friend of mine requested on my Facebook page. It was the question of the day. I asked, folks, tell me what you guys like for me to talk about, and I will choose one random. And this one actually touched home for me. Um, colorism, colorism in Black community. We talk about racism. We talk about prejudice. We talk about all the things that goes on in our communities, but we talk about it from a different aspect. We talk about it when it's white people doing it to us. But do you not realize that reverse racism or colorism is built strong? The foundation is deep in the Black community. So we're gonna delve a little bit into it. I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about where it comes from, and I'm gonna tell you how I feel. Anyway, this is all right, y'all. What's good? It's me again, Mr. Talk 718, and tonight I'm gonna just break down a little bit of the history of colorism in our communities, and I want to just say that it's not something that's new. This has been going on since the days of slavery. Okay, it's been going on since slavery. Um, it's the colorism part started after the slave owners or the oppressors were having babies with black men and black women. You know, you would have the slave master going into the barns or wherever the sleeping quarters were for the Africans, and they would breed with these women and produce mixed children. We call it mulatto today, but back then there was no specific race. They were all considered the N word. They were black, and when these babies were born and they grew of a certain age, these children were taught to actually be tasked with domestic work, while the dark skinned people was still on the plantation doing all the hard physical labor. That right there is a division. It caused the division gap amongst people of all shades of brown. So when you're a light skinned person growing up in that time, you had a sense of, I can't think of the word, but you had a sense of entitlement, right? Where you really thought that you were better, but it wasn't like you thought you were better. It was actually the slave owner who made you feel like you were superior. Hence, you had to do a lot of things that was going against your mother, your father, your uncle, your cousins, or your friends, right? Because you were a lighter skin. But did you know that lighter skin was considered better, smarter, and much more attractive or beautiful? That's the way they thought because closer to white was right. So if you were a black man and you were diluted with a white gene, you were considered to be of a better stock, a better stock of slave. So you were able to do the things that was close to the mistress. You were able to uh, help take care of the baby, or you were able to go in a house and serve dinners and stand up in your black and white with your big apron on and just taking care of that family, even though the wife knew that there was no possible way that that man uh, didn't sleep with that black woman, but they stayed, and these black children were raised in the house. Have you guys ever heard of the paper bag test? Do you guys know anything about the paper bag test? Well, let me tell you what the paper bag test is. The paper bag test is a test. It was used in black space or black spaces, and hiring of black people in the 19th and the 20th century. That was used to allow anyone that had a shade of the paper bag or lighter the ability to enter places and also would be considered for hire. But if you was darker, you would not be allowed in these same spaces and you were not considered for the job. Talk about discrimination, right? You discriminated against the same people. Can you see or feel the resentment that was going on during the time where you as a person who knew how to do the job and you were discriminated by your own light skin? It's not their fault that you were discriminated upon. It was the fault of the person hiring you because they thought that that person was smarter and you may have been a smart one. You may have been the one who taught that person. But if you turn it around, it was still a form of racism. It was a way to keep the black people divided. I'm pretty sure we all heard of the Willie Lynch notes. I don't really have an opinion on the author. I don't even know if the person really existed, but the information in it was relevant, and it's still relevant today. If you think about what some of the Willie Lynch letters was talking about, it said to keep the sons from the fathers and the mothers from the daughters. Separate your light and your dark skinned people, and you keep them away from each other, and that will cause a division. And it's true in our lifestyle and our world that we live in today. If you do it enough, it becomes a part of you, and then it becomes a part of your children and your children's children and your children's children. So I want to say the stigma of being divided amongst people of the same race is not something new. It is something that has been instilled in your DNA and your genetics, but it takes a strong-willed person to actually look past that. I love every black shade under the spectrum. We call it black, it's really brown, but nevertheless, y'all all get my drift, right? In our community, colorism is still thriving. Research shows that dark-skinned women are less likely to be married opposed to lighter-skinned women. Let me get into this, right? All right, cool. I'm a black male, brown, black, whatever, right? And I live in a society where you see a lot of things when it comes to your people because it's rare that you have a real mixed community, especially in the South. In New York, you might see it more, but gentrification pushes a lot of that out. So you won't really have a real, truly mixed community. Everybody is considered like they're like like cattle, sheep with the sheep, you know, uh, the cows with the cows, the pigs with the pigs. They all live on the same farm, but they only flock together, right? And so being in the South, I, I see a lot of differences as opposed to living up north. Okay. But the same culture exists. It might be different. Like you might have slim women who get no love because all the thick women is getting all the love because they got big butts. Well, let's think of it like this. Dark-skinned women get treated a whole lot different. They're called ugly. They're called masculine. They're called men. They're called, they're called all the things under the sun that's not positive. And they're looked down upon and they're treated so much worse as opposed to their light-skinned sisters. They're sisters. Why is there a division? Because during the years, they made it okay to feel that light is right again and black is whack. I want to clear up the notion that light-skinned women act like they're better than dark-skinned women because that's not the case. Society allows it to feel like that. But I know a lot of women that's lighter complexion. They're more closer to the spectrum of that paper bag. And they're actually cool. The problem with dark-skinned women is not that they're dark-skinned. It's the treatment that they received during all the years of uh, being looked down upon. How can you not understand that? How many years did it take for a dark-skinned person, male or female, to be casted as a top person in movies, or to be looked at as so-called strong? Or could I say so-called? Because everybody's strong, but strength doesn't mean physical. Strength doesn't mean you can't be broken down mentally and get help, because strength, it takes strength to get help. But look how many years it took. How many years when you know, I grew up in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, early 2000s, my youth. And dark-skinned men was always called ugly. It didn't matter if you looked better than your brother that was standing next to you, or you were more attractive, but your skin tone made you less than. More colorism. Why weren't we looked at as equal, and you know, the personality stood out, and you allowed yourself to get to know a person through their personality as opposed to just looking at their skin complexion? I'm going to tell you, in 2021, the Willie Lynch letters are still working. Keep us divided, you keep us separated, and you will have a disenfranchised, unorganized group of people who hate each other. I'm so blessed to be who I am and to feel how I feel, because I truly get that at the end of the day, I love my people. Doesn't matter the shade. Like in the last picture, and I'm gonna take you back to it. In that last picture, you see shades of beautiful people. That's it. And they're standing around each other in love, in support of one another. Because they understand that united we stand, or divided we fall. But in America, and I can only speak in America, even though I know worldwide is the same thing, but in America, is divided we stand, and divided we fall. And it doesn't matter, because everybody is out for themselves. Colorism caused that. You think about any other nationality or group of people in America, if something happens to one, it happens to all of them. It took the death of George Floyd for people to understand that we need to stick together, or the powers that be, will kill you. They will kill us. And who is there to protect us? Only us. But who's to protect us from us? Nobody. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We don't matter to anybody else but us. But it can't be when something tragic happens. We have to care for each other all the time, all shades of colors. Shit is crazy. Unbelievable. I mean, I can't make this up. I'm pretty sure I told y'all about the story with me and my brother, right? We both were, I mean, people say we look alike, always say we look alike. I'm just a darker version. And I looking at myself, I look like my father, and I look like my mom's. And my brother looked like my mom, but he looks like my father. So when I look at my dad, I see me in him. And when I look at my mom, I see me in her, but I see more of my dad in me, right? And not to take anything away from my mother, but you know what? She was light skinned. I mean, my dad is light skinned, and my mother is dark skinned. And they made a brown baby. They also made a red baby, or a light skinned baby. And I'm gonna tell you something. We didn't, me and my brother, we didn't grow up believing in that shit. My brother used to be like, "Yo, boy, you better go get her. You look good, son. We look alike." I you know, kind of, I wasn't the shock kind of dude. I was kind of affected growing up a little bit from other people's opinions of my complexion, but not anymore, not today. Why? Because I realized that there's no difference. I can make every shade of baby, and for a fact, I know for a fact, I have a son, and he's light bright. You know what I'm saying? My son is paper bag brown, as they would call. I want to say, did you know that dark people would get difference in pay as opposed to light skinned people? Light skinned men and dark skinned men are paid different and mirror the difference in pay between whites and blacks. Did you know that? Well, you wouldn't know that. And not just a regular job. I'm talking about in corporate America. Y'all both might be qualified equally. Both went to Harvard, Yale, or a top-notch HBCU. But when I mean, the shit is still relevant. It's going on today. You will find that light-skinned brother that has the same qualifications as you is getting paid slightly more than you just because, but they won't say, well, because he's light skinned. They're going to say, well, he qualified and he had XYZ experience. And, you and your boy already talked, but we don't care because we bros. So we going to talk about that shit. Like, yo, son, ain't that some bullshit? How the blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And, we're going to go to the boss and we're going to make sure we know that they're liars so we can deal with them accordingly due to the lies. When people lie to you, you deal with them accordingly. So you don't just, blindly give people your trust. Once they lie, it's a wrap. You don't have to lie. Just keep it a buck or just be fair. But we live in a place where it's not fair. And America is not fair for the black, brown people. It's not fair. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have white friends, I have Asian friends, I have Hispanic friends, I have friends that Sikh, Indian, I have friends that Sikh, Muslim, Hindu. I mean, you name it. I grew up in New York, melting pot. I worked in a place where there was everybody of every ethnicity and culture and religion. And I'm going to be honest with you, we all just believed in each one teach one. We did that every single night after Terminal 5 was getting ready to shut down. And there weren't that many flights coming through. So we would just school each other and we would talk about things and we would show love to each other because that's the way it was intended to be. Right? Did you also know, I'm just going in right now. Did you also know that black women that are dark skinned get longer sentencing than light skinned women? And light skinned people, that y'all all brown to me. So don't get it twisted and think that I'm pointing the finger at one complexion than the other, because at the end of the day, this is the thing that we need to stop. But I'm just giving you some information that lets you know that the colorism is not the fault of black people per se, right? Colorism is a systematic thing that happened years ago during slavery, and it's still going on today. It's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I work where I work. I'm a handsome guy, but all the girls talk about the light skinned guys. I'm not jealous. I'm with it. Like, yeah, boy. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm just as handsome. I might be because I might be a little older though. I don't know. Who knows? But nevertheless, it's just the nature of the beast. When it comes down to dark skin, all dark skinned people are looked down upon. So when you see dark skinned women in America that are angry, 9 times out of the 10 is because they grew up being dark skinned and being treated a certain way because of their skin complexion. And they didn't realize what it was until they got older, if you get what I'm saying. So sometimes we don't know what's going on until we know what's going on. And that's horrible. We grew up our whole lives trying to figure out, why do people treat us the way they treat us? And then you start to see things like in the movie industry. If we go back in the days when movies and entertainment on TV screens was starting out, when they got black people that was dark skinned, we did the buck dance. You know what I'm saying? We had the roles of a buffoon. We had the roles of idiots. We were the Joker, right? And then time goes on, things progress, it got better, and we got the roles of pimps. We got the roles of whores and hookers. We got the roles of the drug dealer. We got the roles of the thugs. We got the roles of anything negative, because in the dictionary, black means negative, but that's impossible because the shade or the color or the hue of or the hue black is devoid, or it has every single color under the spectrum in black. You cannot subtract anything from the color white, and there's no such thing as white people, but the point I'm making is, how can you be treated negatively when you are ultra positive? We need to get together. We need to stick together. We need to say to each other, I love you, brother. You're a beautiful brother, or you're a beautiful sister. Not, damn, you look good because how many, okay, question. How many times you heard this one? Damn, you look good for a dark-skinned girl. What? Why can't she just look good? Why can't that brother just be handsome because he's just a handsome man? But you see the division. They divide us in colors, even though we're still black and we're divided by every single nation. Colorism. We talk about racism amongst white people to black people, but black people can't get along simply because of the complexion of their blackness. Come on. In 1940, Kenneth and Mamie Clark had a research with dolls, and the research revealed that kids preferred the white doll. This is black kids and white kids. That's the majority, right? The question asked was, why do you like the white doll? The white children said, because it looked like me, and the black kids said, because the other doll was ugly. You ask this to a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 7-year-old, how do you possibly allow that to be in the child's head? They're too young to understand that. But this is the type of traumatization that goes on in young people starting way back in pre-adolescence and toddlership and but it's a learned behavior, because that parent probably, more than likely, I would say, was denigrating themselves in front of their babies. And children, they're sponges. They see everything, they suck it up, and they learn from that. So you have these babies talking about the black doll is ugly. And you know what? We can go decade to decade, or century to century, or half a century to half a century, however you want to look at it, right? And do this test, and you're going to get the same results. Because even in Hollywood, when they depict a brown woman of all different hues, or black woman of all different hues, dark skin, all the way up to just before paper bag brown, they're in an angry or abused or denigrating part, role, or scene. And then you ask why. Don't ask why. It's all over the place. They're teaching us without even teaching us. They're teaching us without teaching us. It's subliminal. If a kid is watching a cartoon and they see something enough, guess what they're going to believe? They're going to believe what they saw in that cartoon, and they didn't even purposely learn it. How many times you set your kids in front of the romper room? If you go, you can go back with me. I remember the romper room. I don't know any of this. Barney, the lady with the puppet, the sheep, whatever her name was, Shirley, whatever, or Zoobly Zoo. I mean, I'm taking it back to those who understand where I'm coming from. Now you bring it to Dora the Explorer or um, Baby Shark, or I don't know what are these new shows out for these children. They You put them in front of it and they learn that shit and they eat it up and they soak it up and they can come back and they can sing baby do 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 do. You didn't teach them that, but they soak things in so quickly because they're a sponge. There's nothing there, so they're like a computer with no operating system. You put one in, there's no Windows, there's no apps, there's no programs, right? And the more programs you put into it, the better it get. The more knowledge it gets, it attains more stuff. So when you decide you put in AM, that shit says Amazon. You might be going to American Express, but they know that. You see what I'm saying? It already knows. So when you do, so these children growing up thinking that they're ugly because they're dark skinned. Light skinned sisters do not hate you, my brown skinned sisters. My brown skinned sisters don't hate you, my light skinned brown sisters. It's love, but they divide us, and that tactic has been working forever. Divide and conquer. So right now it's time to stop the divide. I mean, black people are divided like the Red Sea. That shit makes absolutely no sense because we are supposed to be united. In order for us to attain the respect and the dignity, we have to come together as one group of people. All shades, all religions, all sexualities. Just remember, we're black first, and the colorism will go away. Just remember, love is love. I want to say one more thing. I want y'all to understand this. Black is beautiful in every shade. Doesn't matter what complexion you are when you're a black person. It's all the same. And you know what that same is? That same is beautiful. Let's not allow the so-called societal norms to tell us who we are and how we should treat each other. We don't live in a time where we can't control our passion for one another, our respect for one another. We live at a time when we can choose. Let's choose to do the right thing. Let's choose to love each other. Let's choose to stop the black racism or the black colorism towards one another. We don't need that. We will never come together if we continue to think the way we think and to act the way that we act and to show the disrespect for one another. It just doesn't work. Because until then, we will be the bottom of the shoe. Or even worse, the shit that the shoe stepped in. Let's get together. Let's love one another. Let's hold each other down. Let's bring peace back into our community, into our nations. That's who we are. That's who we need to be. Come on, y'all. Let's stop, think, and then go out and do the right thing. It's your man, Mr. Talk 718 with Talk Life, the podcast. This is Mr. Talk 718 with Talk Life, the podcast on YouTube. And one more thing, guys. If you got this far, please subscribe, like, share, and put a comment. I want everybody to get a chance to see this because I do this because I'm passionate about my people. One love.